bokk na ci financement bokk na également ci renforcement de capacité volet boobu nag la ñuy gën a liggéey ak GCCI renforcer capacité GCCI pour que service yi muy jox entrepreneurs yi mu mën a nekk service yu mucc ayib yoo xam ne dina am njëriñ ci entreprise yi nga xam ne ñoom ñoo nekk membre ci GCCI wala sax même bu ñu nekkul membre mu nekk ay entrepreneurs yoo xam ne rek soxla nañu GCCI di leen gunge. ni ñu koy defee fii Gambie noonu lañ koy defee Sénégal tamit ndax soxla yi benn la naa entrepreneur yëpp ñoom ñoo bokk mbëbët ñoom ñoo bokk ay jafe-jafe ñoom ñoo soxla également ñu jàppale leen ci seeni liggéey. fànn bi ñuy gën liggéey fan yi ñaari fan yi nag dafa nekk lu am solo mooy sécurité sociale. xam ngeen ILO depuis ci njëlbeen ñu ngi liggéey ci li ñuy tuddee decent work en français ñu koy tuddee travail décent. decent work nag du leneen mooy sooy liggéey na fekk sa liggéey bi aussi am na kiiraay bi nag du leneen lu dul social sécurité ndax suñu dëkk yi dafa nekk loo xam ne lu xaw a tumuranke la ci suñuy entreprise am na entreprise yu bëri yu yëngatu mais amuñu protection sociale bu war boo xam ne dina mën a protéger seen employé waaye dina mën a protéger également njiitu entreprise bi te loolu soo ko amul dafay andi lu bëri lu muy suuxat ci liggéey bi d'abord ci employé bi mooy ki ñu recruté ci biir entreprise bi su amul protection sociale bu feebaree amul ku ko faj bu gaañoo amul ku ko jël en charge déjà moom liggéeyam dafay sooxe mais bu liggéeyam sooxee tamit liggéeyu entreprise bi dafay sooxe donc loolu gis nañ ne njëriñu entrepreneur bi la mais njëriñu également employé bi la donc daf mu nekk loo xam ne njëriñi pour ñëpp la njëriñ kese la sax day parce que def naa ku amul sécurité même bu ñu waxul social sax ku amul sécurité rek doo ma ne sa liggéey wala sa dundin dina mën a jag donc mu nekk thème bu am solo boo xam ne ñu ngi ciy liggéey di ci jàppale entrepreneurs yi pour que ñu inscrire seen entreprise ci social sécurité ndax yu bëri yu mu leen di jàppale ci seen i wàllu liggéey ci wàllu développement entreprise bi ci wàllu productivité ak yu nu mel gis nañ na tamit social sécurité entreprise yu bëri amuñu ko te ñaar moo koy expliquer benn lu ci ëpp dañu nekk ci économie informelle loolu muy Sénégal muy Gambie muy yeneen pays Afrique yu ñu wër xaw na fa bëri trop ñaareel bi même suñu nekkee ci formal économie ci bëri xamuñu lan mooy sécurité sociale amuñu information donc ñooñu dafa laaj ñu tàggat leen ñi xamal leen def naa loolu moo tax a jóg ñaari fan session yi ngeen di def pour que boo leen jógee fii ngeen mën a dem expliquer entrepreneurs yi njëriñu sécurité sociale ak naka la ñu war a mën a def pour am sécurité sociale ak ban njëriñ lañ ci am ñoom ak seeni employé di rafetlu nag vraiment liggéey bi GCCI def ak consultant Bakary depuis Dakar maa ngi ko doon suivre vraiment ñu def ci liggéey bu mucc ayib document bi ñu génnee document de qualité la yaakaar naa ne bu jumtukaay la pour yéen boo xam ne di ngeen ci mën a sukkandiku pour mën a partager pour mën a joxe information bi au niveau des entreprises ak les partenaires. léegi daal yéen sas bi def naa yéen la ñu ngi ci seen loxo te ñu ngi leen di ñaanal tamit li ci des yal na leen yàlla yombalal yàlla barkeel liggéey bi li ngeen ci séentu tamit yàlla na ngeen ko ci gis te mu doon seen mbir laa yéen ñëpp. naa loolu mooy message bi mu bëggoon partager ak yéen. di leen remercier ci invitation merci beaucoup.
Merci jërëjëf Abdul Aziz. Thank you so much Abdul Aziz. In summary, what he was just trying to do was to emphasize the importance of decent work and social security, especially for informal enterprises. And he mentioned that when you talk about informal enterprises, most businesses within that sector, they do not have any, or they do not know their obligations when it comes to social security. They have no idea, they have no clue how it works. So that's why we had this training of trainers yesterday of both GCCI staff and key partner institutions. At the same time, we're launching this guide. So at the end of the day, he's expecting that the participants will go out there, enlighten entrepreneurs, informal enterprises especially, and even the employers. Because at times most employers also tend to somehow shy away from social security obligations, or they do not know, in fact, at the same time. So I think that's the whole point of what he was trying to say. Thank you so much. Next, I would just like to hand over to the consultant, Mr. Bakare Morong. I think he has been on this work for 2 months now, if I could recall. It's been me, him, and an ILO official, Michael Alex, that have been really working on this document, of course, with the support of Social Security themselves. They made tremendous contributions to this document. They should have been here today, but unfortunately they had an emergency, but they couldn't make it. But we really acknowledge and appreciate their efforts on this document. So Mr. Morong will just give a brief overview of what's in the guide, right, and the process, how he got to, develop this guide, maybe the consultations and so forth. Mr. Morong.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum. Very good morning or very good afternoon. Good to have all of you here. And I think basically this is a work that has started more like last year. So I think we developed the formalization of businesses manual and guides and training materials last year. And in that we have Social Security. We touched on it. I think it's important that we sort of come back to that this year to develop a guide specifically for Social Security. And I think in the training we kind of got into that discussion, but also I took you back to where we started with the definition of the assignment, but also the consultations that included GCCI and some members of GCCI. But on this occasion, consultation went above the small medium, basically to larger sizes of businesses. Because from what I understand last year, I think small business owners are grappling with this. They probably do not know much about the questions or the insights I want them to bring in. So talking about larger businesses experience was good in that they were able to add insight into what we wanted to sort of explain. We took it from there to get into the beef of the manual. And to make it portable and handy, as you would see, and for those of you who were with us yesterday, as you would have experienced from the training, we sort of get it into just about 5 sections. And then those 5 sections tell you more about what it is and what it is not, and how you would sort of start the whole thing, getting to understand your responsibilities, but also your rights as employers or employees. Depending on where you are in your enterprise, whether you are a company or whether you are a partnership or you are a sole proprietor, we have looked at all those situations. And for most people, I think they are in the other bracket of social security, wherein they will be contributing as individuals. And we brought in what the law would require from them, but also we brought in some motivation in terms of later on if they change the form of their business into partnership or into company, what they would be required to do henceforth. So basically, once we got into the rights and the responsibilities, we thought it's important then to understand the registration process. By which process I think should have been much clear in this country. Say from 2013, when government sort of replaced the old Companies Act with the single window business registration. I think by intent, there would have been one single window registration for businesses. And what that means is in a small, say, office in the Ministry of Justice, or in a small office in Gaipa, basically under one roof, businesses would have obtained registration certificates and trade licenses. However, I think that did not happen by intent. Along the line, I think some are going back and forth to GRA to get tax registration, and some would go further to get trade license. But then, from the consultation, we realized that not many would be going for social security registration. So I think if there were difficulties in terms of how the process ran for most people, we tend to break the difficulties around that, either in terms of the information gap or in terms of the process. So with the registration section, we sort of dealt with how that whole process is to be enabled to start with from your understanding of the process, because you can't go in there when you don't understand how the process works. So hopefully those who have attended the training would have got clarity around how the process works at Social Security. Now, understanding the registration means that if you sort of buy into the benefits which are discussed and the rights and the responsibilities, then you can close the registration sooner. And then closing the registration would mean that I think you can start understanding how you would benefit from the benefits, or the access to the benefits. And understanding the access to the benefits starts with understanding that, well, in the first place, you've been putting aside some money in your account at Social Security. Now, call it a savings, call it an investment, but this is your money that you've been putting there. It could be money for yourself if you are sole proprietorship. It could be money for your staff if you are business owner, sole proprietorship, and you contribute for your staff. But it could also be money for yourself if you are a partnership or company for the staff that you bring on. And I think in the discussion yesterday, still trying to get buy-in in terms of how you can access the benefits. We sort of got to a point where we brought in the linkage between Social Security, National Provident Fund, and the Injuries Compensation Fund, but also to a very good extent the Housing Fund, because I think all three funds are managed by Social Security, and I think it's good to understand the link in there. But also, as we talk about benefits, how do you get benefit in terms of, say, putting a roof over your head? You know, if we're talking about housing, we got in an example in the document where we are saying somebody has applied 30% of his savings or his contributions in the account there as Social Security towards the mortgage payment. So that means if you are a business owner, you are an employee, and you've not been putting this money aside of Social Security for a very long time, probably your dream of owning a house or putting a roof over your head may not be realized. So extensively what we are saying is that you can protect against accident, but also get some support when you are sick. But effectively, you also can get housing benefit from your Social Security. So it is a huge, huge protection both for businesses and their employees. And I think we have really got into practicalities around that. And some of it probably is not yet in the public, but I think it's good that you pick those examples to know that, yes, I think these are benefits that you can access. Now, that notwithstanding, Social Security is also working on getting this space a lot more beneficial for small businesses, because the law as at the moment, the Social Security Act 2015, those cover companies, partnerships, and to some extent small businesses or individual businesses. But also they are aware that small businesses, the labor law doesn't make a lot of mandatory requirements for small businesses. You can see that the labor law has got exemptions, which Social Security brought in the 2015 Act. Now, to to say that, well, they don't probably need those benefits because they got exemption. I think we are just saying that they probably would not get protection. I think knowing that, well, everybody needs protection. They are aware that they need to address that group. I think they are working towards getting some benefits in their new act. Actually, they should have an act ready last year. The project was a bit delayed and just been ready for validation. Specifically in that work, they want to focus a lot more attention on informants because they are aware of the demography, they are aware of the statistics that that is showing that mostly, I think, businesses are in that category of small businesses. What they want to do is just to be sure that they can meet those demands of the small businesses. So which means to say that probably they will not be asking you to, say, for example, wait for 55 years or 60 years before you can access your benefits. So as small business owners, they want to put in the act there what would allow you to access some of those funds that will be contributing for some very good reasons. Some very good reasons that you would need those funds. And I think yesterday we sort of touched on that. And so for some reason, I think that was well received because most people are not convinced that they should put this money aside until age 55 or age 60. Okay, and then we also touch on survivors because you're working active at the moment, but then when you retire, you have this benefit. But also, if you passed on, even before you retire, there is survivors benefit. So we talked about how survivors can get that benefit. And I think we laid emphasis on the point that as a registration, or even after registration, you should be going to Social Security or writing to Social Security to be sure that that survival list is updated, regularly. So they shouldn't have a list that is outdated, so that if you pass on, they are not sure who to pass those benefits. So we sort of clarify all that. But as you put those contributions, we are aware that there could be disputes and grievances, and there are lots of them. I think in the consultation when we asked, we couldn't get much from individuals, whether they've run into trouble with disputes. Suddenly, I think there was few because not many people have registered, so they couldn't give some concrete examples. But we inquired from Social Security themselves, and they were able to list the various categories of these disputes and grievances that they've been managing over the years. And largely, I think we can avoid or mitigate some of those disputes and grievances from understanding the rights and responsibilities, and at the point of registration, we can avoid some of those problems. But also the regular contributions, we can also avoid some of those problems, because there are examples of under contribution or gaps in contribution, basically either because somebody is not aware that they should do this regularly as an employer, or somebody is just sending to collect the money and sit on the money, without passing it on to Social Security. So we sort of pinpoint how some of those led into critical disputes. Now, as business owners, if you know about these things from this point, I think you can arm yourself with solutions not to get into those problems. Now, we ended at a point where we role played in a way, sort of getting people to understand how they can take all this away, because those who are trained are supposed to now cascade this down, and there are different levels. GCCI, I think it is engaging with associations, so those who are trained at GCCI level will now cascade most of that to the association. But also, we have Chamber of Commerce, the Youth Chamber, the Women's Chamber, and some other institutions that were present, who can now go back and share similar information. Now, that notwithstanding, I think I'll put a caveat to say that you need to be cautious here, because the environment at Social Security is changing. Last year, we, the consultant for Social Security, we developed their first ever strategy plan, and they are now in the first year of implementation. By intent, there is a lot in that strategy that meant to transform Social Security in this country. So they have a lot in the agenda to digitize, for example, but also to repair that broken image. So they opt for a lot of public engagement, getting to be sure that people understand what they do, but people have trust in them, entrusting with their money for now, but also for the future. I think in addition to this guide, they have their own guide for the trade forms. So you can imagine, if this guide is about less than 50 pages, their own trade guides are handier than this, about 10, 15 pages. But then also they have some testimonials or animated videos. They are sending those videos on social media, but also they are doing a lot of information sensitization around the newspapers. Somebody the other day opened a newspaper and then we found something very innovative from Social Security. So that's how they are sort of carrying themselves now, getting to be sure that you're not just there grumbling or not satisfied with what they're doing. They're aware of all that because extensive consultation was done around the strategy, and they very much know what is it that they should do well or better, and what is it that they need to sort of put away. So I think GCCI is being encouraged from this work to work collaboratively with Social Security, just to be sure that they are equally getting a lot of new things that are happening. Because part of what is here, or some of what is here, might be out of date. One gets new act is validated this month. But what it means is the fundamentals of what we've covered in the 2015 act will still be valid. It doesn't mean that when you review an act, you take out everything. The substantial is in there, and that's what we cover to a very large extent. So just to say that, as trainers, sort of get to understand what is here, but get to understand the dynamics within the changing environment. So that once they say, well, there is a lot for the small businesses, get to understand what that means, and then push that information as well. Because more membership would mean that they have they can do more, but also more membership would mean that we can say we are getting into that comfortable zone of social security and financial inclusion to some extent. So this is what we've covered, and it's been quite a whole quarter of this year and last year as well. But I think it's good. It's a good effort. It's a good effort, and I want to thank Social Security, for being upfront with some of the information that I wanted for this work. But I also want to thank GCCI and ILO for their project work on this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mara. That was a very detailed overview of the guide, really, and really appreciate it from you. Without wasting much time, I just want to have two participants from the training yesterday, just to give a brief testimony of the training they had, their experience, what they think, before we hand over to Madam Jara to deliver the launching statement. I would firstly like to call on Madam Anicham, GCCI. So you just brief 1 minute brief of what you think of the TOT and how you think it can be beneficial for you.
Good afternoon. I am Anicham Saini, working with the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Really, the training was it was really interested and knowledgeable, and then I think it will help us to inject the information to both the employers and the employees. And basically we learn a lot. We learn a lot from the training, and then we transform the information to the employers and the employees. Yeah.
Thank you. I mean, Sivu, we need a...
Thank you very much. I just recognize the high table. I just want to say, Mr. Manjang has made our work very easy because he has gone through everything. But for me, it was not just the participants, but even ourselves to change our mindset. Because the image that we looked at social security is that ugly face. But we were able to be in reform and refine to understand that social security is not only about looking at people, not especially staff with beautiful cars and saying, they are consuming our money, so. But it's beyond that. He exposed us to, certain benefits that we never knew before. And equally, as employers who will also said, come on, I give contract to somebody, I don't need to pay somebody social security. We also exposed that, it's not only salary, but equally on wages. It's equally there, it's salary or on wages. So you cannot run away. Now, it's like we have to expose people to some of those so that they will not be exploited. So it has catered for everybody, like you said, inclusion. Before we only think of people who are employed, who are on salaries, but now we are exposed to some of these things, and this is great. Not only to the people that we're going to interact with, but ourselves. Because some of us are civil servants, scenarios have been explained here. That affects ourselves. So I think this is more than great and it's successful. I want to thank Mr. Manja for this great job. It's long overdue. I want to at least borrow that word from Amita Sen, who said, capability to function in terms of development. If somebody's mindset is being developed, you empower that individual. So I want to say thank you very much for coming up with this. Seriously, this is long overdue, and I think this will play a great role in changing people's view about social security. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sekou Dabo. He's a regional rep for LRR, yes. ITC or GYCC regional representative. So amongst the training of trainers, amongst the participants, we had 4 participants from the regions, because we don't want the information to only be focused or centered on West Coast region and so forth, but we want those in the rural. I think they in fact need the sensitization more. They are unaware of a lot of things that's happening when it comes to decent work, social security and so forth. So they will be helping to disseminate the information at that level. And I would kindly like to hand over to Madam Teresa Jara to deliver the launching statement.
Okay, thank you, members of the high table, partners, participants, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to you all. First of all, I would like to extend my CEO's sincere apologies. She really wanted to be here, but unfortunately she was forced to resolve an urgent matter that she's handling at the moment. So she asked me to extend her apologies for her absence. So I will read her statement. The GCCI, with support of the ILO, the International Labour Organization, and the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation, is pleased to introduce an information and sensitization guide on access to Social Security for employers and employees in the Gambia. This guide is meant to provide key information on Social Security, concepts, and the importance of registering to Social Security for employers and their workers. A one-day training of trainers on the guide has been conducted for GCCI staff and its partner institutions to 1. Capacitate GCCI and partner institution staff on the importance of Social Security and the associated procedures for registering and contributing to Social Security. 2. To capacitate GCCI and partner institution staff on how to deliver information and sensitization sessions based on the guide and its associated training materials. The lack of suitable employment opportunities forces Gambian youth into the informal sector, and we all know that the MSMEs constitute most of the economy, which is characterized by major decent work deficits such as poor occupational safety and health, and little or no access to social protection. According to recent ILO estimates, 76.7% of jobs in the Gambia are informal. Supporting enterprise formalization as a means of creating decent work opportunities for workers and economic units in the informal sector is a prominent pillar of the policy recommendations formulated in Recommendation 204, Transitional from Informal to Formal Economy. We wish to express our sincere gratitude to the ILO and the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation, which has supported the development of this guide. We would also like to thank Mr. Marum, who has worked tirelessly to ensure that this guide has the requisite and the information that is needed for both employers and employees. GCCI will now roll out contents of the guide through sensitization sessions with businesses, radio talk shows, social media, etc., thereby encouraging businesses to fulfill their social security obligations. Similarly, I urge all trainers from partner institutions to make great use of this opportunity to enlighten and interact with businesses within their network. It is very important that we transfer the information that we've learned here to employers, but most especially to employees as well. Because without the employees knowing what their rights are, they would be able to negotiate and be with the information that is needed when they're negotiating with their employers. So it's very important that we transfer this knowledge that we've received here today so that we can not only take it back to employers, but especially to employees as well. So we congratulate all the participants for a job well done. I know it's been an intensive day yesterday. I was in the office still around 5, and I was like, this training seems to be very intense. I was asking my staff, how long is this training? You've been there since this morning, and you're still there. So I was not in the train, but I was in spirit with you guys because I was in the office throughout so I know that it has been really an intensive training, and I am very confident that the information that you've received here today, you will definitely ensure that it is, you will do the requisite sensitization that is needed. GCCI will always ensure that our employers as well are very familiar with social security benefits and what is required of them to ensure that social protection, the social security is social protection for employers. And the ILO always emphasize on decent work. So we will ensure as the chamber that this information through our staff will definitely be passed on to our employers. So on that note, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I officially launch this guide. So congratulations to everybody, and I hope that we will be sharing the guide with our partners as well.
Actually, we want to do some handing over. With
okay, so Madam Sar will do a handing over to some of the partners that are here. So on that note, thank you very much for coming and have a
are you here?
Yeah.
Yes, we can start with you. Please come forward. That's the African Youth Entrepreneurship Academy. That's the country manager. There's a hold on, one more. We have the ITC rep here. Yep. No?
Yeah, nothing. Because it's not.
That's for the ITC, the YEP project, but they also deal with entrepreneurs a lot. So that's the guidance for them. Thank you. Can you have a seat? Can have Mr. Abdul Aziz, Startup Incubator, Ahmed Danso. NEDI, National Enterprise Development Initiative.
Yeah.
One more. Can we have the Association of Domestic Workers, Madam Buri? Is it Buri, right? So I think they are a key sector actually that really need this, because they are the informal sector. They need to know what social security is all about. Buri is the president of the association. Mr. Moro, kindly. I want to call on AWEP, African Women Entrepreneurship Academy.
Very active participant.
And Bankers Association, Alaji Jeng, we notice we acknowledge your presence. He's the Secretary General, so we also want to hand over copies of the guide to disseminate to the respective institutions. Do you have GWCC here? No?
Thank you.
GWCC rep?
Yes,
no, and if somebody can just come and collect it from me. Lena, you can come for it. Come for GWCC. Later you hand it over to them. To Andy. So thank you, everybody. Did I read about any key institutions?
UICC.
They are not here.
They are not here.
But I think they already collected.
No, this is here. IEC.
Okay, GYCC. So who can collect for GYCC? Ensure that these get to GYCC.
This is the guide. A guide to social security. International Labour Organization. GCCI.
Yeah.
GYC.
All right.
That's GYC.
So the rest of the copies will be distributed to the media and other participants that are here. Thank you so much. It was just a short ceremony, but before we disperse, I'd like us to have a group photo, please.
Questions?
Everybody, sorry?
Questions from the media?
Sorry?
Questions from the media? Are the media allowed to ask questions?
Okay.
Okay.
We can take like 3 questions.
Yeah, I have 3.
Okay. But we need to give way to other media.
When you invite us to a press, when you invite us to a press conference, we're gonna ask questions as journalists, and you need to accommodate that. So I just wanted to know, first of all, how many trainers were trained, and is there a target for each of those trainers? Like, if it's 10 and you're expecting each trainer to train 10 businesses, or what is, so I would like to have that understanding to know, please.
I think we had in the room about 28, including GCCI. Because they are the target audience, we don't have a ratio for their own sessions. But then, naturally it would be if they are organizing this session, maybe somewhere, they can aim to have maybe 1 trainer to 25 participants.
Okay.
I always say that maybe that's something they can handle. And in the whole, I think we were talking about, in fact, a situation where somebody in his office has 2 chairs, and definitely you can see that that person is trying to converse, with those 2 people. more than that is difficult because the thing maybe gets out of control. So I think they are already aware that they can run these institutional sessions, but also they can have conversations maybe with some groups around.
Thank you. I also wanted to know, perhaps, I know you're not Social Security and you're doing work for them as a consultant, so you're in a very knowledgeable position. Like, at the moment, can people pay via bank transfer, or is Social Security still dealing with cash? Do people have to go with cash, hard cash, to go and pay? Or can they work via banking systems? That's the one. And then the second question is with regards to if somebody wanted to, I heard you said for those who have been trained to look within their network and engage. What if it's the other way around? If somebody wants to engage, get in touch with one of your trainers so that they could come into their office. For example, I run a small media organization. We struggle to even pay our staff, all right? And how would that be? Do they just get in touch with GCCI and then they can send a trainer over? Just so that anybody who is listening to this right now and thinking, you know what, perhaps I should do this for my business. Perhaps you could explain how does that work? And my first question was about, is SS Social Security cashless? Can people be paying via bank accounts and all that?
Right. At the moment, Social Security is collecting this via check and bank transfer. I think that's conventional. Then they are aware the digital financial inclusion. Because at the moment at the central bank level, we also the consultant for central bank in terms of digital financial inclusion. And within that framework, Social Security is supposed to use the mobile money platform to allow payments. So that's coming. And in fact, we were making the point yesterday. If you are in the regions, you want to register, Social Security would sort of set up mechanisms for those registrations, just as GRA tends to do, so that the distance is not the barrier, but also as contributions are supposed to be paid on the 15th of the month, people can use a check to pay, but also they can do bank transfer to pay, and hopefully very soon they can use mobile money or other means that are more accessible. So I think gradually within this digital financial inclusion space, we're trying to be sure that people are not all the time having to be in the cash economy. So gradually I think we are moving into very secure but also accessible means of payment. To your second question, anyone that is trained, these are institutions. Probably after here we will see how the participants here will be sort of having access to some of those institutions that have benefited from the training, but also behind the guide you have this list of useful addresses, but also you have a list of useful tools.
Okay.
Tools in the form that if you want registration forms, you want all other useful forms, they are there. Social Security's website is also there. Their website is a very useful information bank, and I've attested to that. And similarly, GRA have also got their website as a good information bank. But that notwithstanding, I think anyone, including myself, should be able to help you, to get your staff sort of aware about what we're talking about. But also, I think Social Security is engaging with associations. In fact, last week, I understand they've done a session with the Teachers Union, and they want to do more of those sessions with associations. Basically, institutions in this country, so that they can, as I said, get to understand what the public would want, and off from they can give those services. So it should be easy. It should be easy to get your staff through.
Thank you very much.
Any question from maybe any other media house? No?
Nope.
Then I guess we call it a day.